Hope everyone's doing well. Sorry for the slightly late start this morning. I was attempting to try to switch things up a bit. Starting to think that maybe I need to switch things up a bit. I'll probably bring this up later. Yeah, I was trying to connect my Nintendo 3DS to my computer through boot NTR and NTR viewer. It's basically once you homebrew hack your 3DS, you can you can get it to stream to your computer. Thank you for the follow, Sniper. I appreciate it. Yeah, you can use boot NTR to follow your, to basically, it's like having like a virtual capture card. And you can get your 3DS stuff to appear on your laptop on a window, or your computer on a window. The quality is not great. You can do a little some like upscaling shenanigans to get the picture better, but then you kind of get that glossy upscaling feel, because pixel art works best on those old CRTVs that the pixel the way those screens rendered pixel graphics actually smooths them out better than modern upscaling, I think. Anyway, you can lose some detail, you can lose some sheen there, but it makes it less pixelated. Bird o'clock. But anyway, I wanted to do it because I know that there are some games that I could just use. I want to play some 3DS games on the stream, because I think it'd be good to switch things up, and it would be really cool to play it natively on the 3DS itself. It might not look great, but I get the sound coming in pretty clear, and I get an image that displays both screens. That's what I was attempting to do before this, but the problem is you need a wireless internet connection. Well, it's not really a problem, but it is a problem in this sense. You need a wireless internet connection, because the 3DS, in order to use boot NTR and NTR viewer, the 3DS needs to be connected to the same wireless internet that your computer is. And which wouldn't normally be a problem, but it is a problem because now because I'm streaming, I have a wired internet connection, and I need to find a way to tell my computer when I'm running boot NTR to use my wireless internet, not my wired internet. And there are ways to do that, apparently. But through a program, I was just working with it, I forget its name, but basically you kind of inject into the program and into, through a command prompt to the program to use a specific IP address for your wireless. That's essentially what it does. So I was trying to get that to work, seeing if I could do it today, but I need a bit more time to fiddle around with it. So that's what I was doing. That's why I'm a little late. Okay. We don't have power bombs, so can't go any there. I think I need to get back out to the main area now. So where am I? I need to turn around. Yeah, so some people commented on some of the shorts that I put up. Thank you for doing so. Well, one of the comments I actually just saw was on my short video on why that tentacle enemy was poor design because of the weighting. Someone respectfully shared their opinion. Saying that the enemy isn't poorly designed, it's just meant to build up tension, or sorry, build up the intimidation factor for when you do have a light beam, because, you know, once you get the light beam, those things are pretty easy to kill. I didn't, you know, I obviously didn't figure that out. I already had the light beam and encountered a few of them. And yes, that is true. That is true. But I think I did not feel intimidated when I came across those enemies. I felt annoyed. And if that was if their desire was to make me feel intimidated by them, then that didn't really work. Like, a good enemy that you feel intimidated by in the history of gaming, until you figured out how to beat it, was like the hunter from the hunters from Halo. Like, you feel intimidated seeing those things, and then once you figure out how to beat it, they're not as intimidating. You know, you don't feel annoyed coming across them, or you might, but they had an intimidation factor to them. I'm trying to think of another one off the top of my head. Maybe I will later. But the waiting factor there was just to, you know, I felt like they could have increased its speed, decreased its health a little bit so it wasn't as bullet spongy, increased its speed so it's harder to shoot, or increased its damage output. So, you know, like when you walk into the room and you see this thing, it commands your full attention. Making it just be bullet spongy seems like a little bit of a cop-out to me. But I understand the player's point. The developers might have had an idea in mind. I think it was poorly executed, and he thinks he disagrees, and that's totally fine. I'm glad that he shared his opinion and shared it in a respectful way. So thank you for interacting and commenting on my stuff. See, these guys too. These guys command your attention by being able to jump across the map. And you can shoot them however you want and engage with them however you want. That's a bit different. Okay, where am I going here? I gotta turn around. Okay. You know, in my own studies for, you know, researching about Metroid games and trying to understand why they're enjoyable or what makes them enjoyable. Been just watching more videos on Metroid stuff. It was Boss Keys I watched yesterday. I've seen a few of his videos before. You know, very popular YouTube channel when it comes to breaking down why games are good. I watched the Super Metroid, the Super Metroid breakdown, and he breaks down Super Metroid by like how the flow of the game works, by the barriers the game places in front of you, and then makes this big whole like flow chart, and actually, discovers that the first part of Metroid, Super Metroid, is actually quite linear. It doesn't feel linear, but it is. Like the way forward is pretty set in place. Like you can only go one or two different directions, and then you get to the then you get to the next barrier. And partway through, once you get the power bomb, the way forward leads you right back to your spaceship, and then the game kind of opens up and stops holding your hand, and is basically like, okay, now you have all this stuff, now you got to figure out the way to go. There's multiple areas, there is the one right way to go, but you can explore how you want. And I think at some point, every Metroidvania has to, if you're developing a Metroidvania, you got to figure out when do you want to stop holding the hand of the player and let them explore, and when do you not. Metroid Fusion decided very early on that it's not gonna let you go. It's gonna always direct you in the right way, in the correct way. Games like Hollow Knight, I feel like really early on in Hollow Knight and in Silksong, they're just like, yeah, go wherever you want. If you can get there, you can get there. They were pretty good at not allowing sequence breaks in that game. In the devs themselves in Hollow Knight, they said, or Silksong, when they were like, yeah, if you think the game is too difficult or you can't beat a boss, maybe that's a signal for you to explore. And that was their whole design philosophy. There was like, if you can't do it for some reason, go explore, find new abilities, and try new things, which I thought was great. I think that's a great, like, trusting the player design philosophy. And I do think that we're in the point of Metroid Prime 2 where that hand holding is gone. And I do think Metroid Prime 2 did that quite early in its gameplay. Like, pretty, the way forward is not obvious. And finding that way forward is you pretty much have a lot of freedom to navigate back and forth through the map. Pretty quickly. Oh, you know what? I need to go back. This is not the correct way. I'm sorry, everyone. I need to get one of the other keys in the Torvus Bog. And now that I have the grapple beam, I can grab said key. Okay, backtracking a little bit here. Oh, I can get an energy tank. Look at that. That's cool. Can't go forward because I don't have a power bomb, but, that's what it is. Oops. Just bounced right back into it. I feel like Metroidvania games, and even to some extent survival horror games, you have to deal with that issue of how how much am I gonna handhold the player versus like do if I handhold them too much, the game's easy and uninteresting. But if I don't handhold him at all, then it's too difficult. I feel like Metroidvanias are kind of like the pinnacle of that because you want to. It's not like an open world in the sense that you can immediately go wherever you want, and you have waypoints guiding you. Part of the design is the exploration, but there's still a correct way to go. So you want the player to explore, but at the same time, not explore. If that makes any sense. So you have to find that sweet spot, and I think that can make or break a Metroidvania. You know, other games have in a very linear game like in Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. You know, that's not a Metroidvania. They don't have to worry about that. The only thing they have to worry about is teaching the player to use different mechanics. You know, and Metroidvanias have to do that too, much in the same way as many other types of games. And you know, when I was struggling to get out of the gravity boost room, you know, it's a very common thing in Metroid games and in games in general. And this is what I would call a game design best practice, meaning this usually works to teach the player something in a way that's unobtrusive. So do this instead of throwing up a text box and instead of throwing up a text box in their face and just like breaking the flow of gameplay. Basically, give them the opportunity to use the weapon or item right away to its fullest extent in a safe place. So like in that room where I got the gravity boost, the only consequence for failure was that I was wasting time. You know, later on they'll include instances where, you know, failure to do the gravity boost could result in a greater waste of time or even harm or something like that. But that was a safe spot for me to test the limitations. Like even putting that that area that I couldn't reach. Helped me test the limits of the gravity boost. You know, to show me, hey, you can use this to get where you want underwater, but you can't use it everywhere, or it has limitations. So, you know, it teaches you without you really knowing to be taught. And then once you leave the room, if you explored, you have a much better sense of the capabilities of this thing that you just got. I feel like the gimmick with this enemy... Oh, I killed it. Okay, works a bit... I feel like the gimmick with that enemy works a bit better, even though you are waiting, because later on you do get a visor that lets you, you know... Okay, I gotta get to that portal. Later on you do get a visor that kind of lets you see what's going on. So, and that enemy's kind of dangerous enough, I feel like, to maybe achieve that intimidation factor. So, maybe that enemy works. I don't know, maybe it doesn't. Okay. Eventually the hint system will yell at me. In the meantime, I'm gonna just try to do my best here. This thing. Okay, I gotta get up there. Go through the portal. Always makes me nervous with Prime Hack. Oh man, can I even get there? Oh yeah, I can. Good. Okay. Okay. Alright. Good, good. Where's my pen? I love seeing those, that pan around Samus's armor. Which, good segue into another thing that we could talk about is okay, it's the question. This one I'm trying to get up there, but I don't know if I can get up there. But I'm gonna try. And I know in some area in the bog there's another key that I'm pretty sure I can get right now. So that's what I'm trying to do. And yeah. Yeah, when it comes to Samus's design... Oh, I'm locked in here with these. Her big shoulder pad things have become really iconic. And... like, even if you just saw, like, a silhouette of Samus in pretty much any of her armor sets, you would recognize her. You'd know, like, oh, hey, that's Samus, even though it's just a silhouette. And the more I've studied about game design, you know, you kind of have to bleed into a lot of other different, skill sets like art design and things like that. And I'm not really an artist, but you know, learning how visuals work and how to guide the eye, it all comes together in a game. And when something like is visually appealing, that just it's another little thing that adds to the overall game experience. That's what I'm trying to get at. If your protagonist is boring to look at, even in a first-person shooter game, you know, it doesn't kill the game, but it does add to the overall experience of the game itself. So yeah, a good rule of thumb from what I do know about protagonist design or character design is a good rule of thumb is when you design your character, if you make a silhouette of that character, are they recognizable? Like you could do that with a lot of like Kratos, Mario, Link, Zelda. There's so many different characters out there that I feel are so uniquely designed just in their silhouette that you can recognize them. So that's one thing. Another thing you could do is put it in a grayscale and see if they're still interesting to look at. And if they're very like monochrome or one shade of gray, then maybe you need to tweak the colors a bit. Oh, look at that. There it is. I didn't even think I'd find it yet. Yeah, so maybe you need to tweak the colors if that's the case. If anybody remembers, if everybody remembers Concord and the fiasco that game was, definitely look up. I think it's called Sunderground Studios. Yeah, that guy did a pretty good job of breaking down why those characters are just so poorly designed from a visual standpoint. He is a developer, and he has a lot of good content on game design in general, but he also worked as a character designer too. But yeah, he'll break it down as to like he goes through character by character as like why this character is poorly designed and what they could do to fix it. And you really see that, you know, you compare the characters of Concord to the characters of Overwatch, and you'll be like, man, what were they thinking when designing these characters? And that's another thing that, you know, to the untrained eye, which I was before I learned all this stuff, you know, I might be able to tell like, hey, there's something about these characters that are just uninteresting. I probably wouldn't put it into the words, but if you were to ask me which characters do you like better, Concord or Overwatch, I'd probably say the design of the Overwatch characters, but I wouldn't know how to say why. Like, why are they better? Well, now I do. I now have words to put to it, and that's overall one of my goals about studying game design. I want to know why. Like, I don't think it's random that some games are iconic and some games aren't. And it's definitely not up to preference, because if it was up to preference, like just simply up to a player's preference, then you wouldn't have the popularity of, you know, Mario or Sonic or so many other iconic IPs. There's general best practices that are being employed that just work. Morning, Eamon. It's good to see you. I held off on my comments about the gotcha stuff because I knew you'd show up eventually. You were the one that sent it to me, so I figured it'd be only fair to wait. I don't know who Todd Howard is. Should I know who Todd Howard is? Is that someone? Nice. Oh, yeah, I feel like I should have known that. He has a YouTube channel right now where he talks. He's talked a lot about modern gaming and game development, right? Kind of a heavyset guy. See, look at that. Look at that. Art. Oh man, that suit is so cool. It just works. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It just works. It's okay. What do we got here? I'd like to think that Twilight Princess drew a lot of inspiration from from Metroid Prime 2. I'm pretty sure, yeah. Yeah. Twilight Princess came out after that. Morning, Tim. Because this fight right here immediately has reminded me of that bug fight you have to do in the Lake Hylia of Twilight Princess. Ah, it's such a cool suit. Nice. Chica larva. Yeah, I feel like this is almost the exact same fight because in Twilight Princess you fight like the worm part of it. I think if I'm remembering correctly, and then you fight the 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 flying around part of it. Soft underbelly. It is a great Zelda game. I've only beaten it a handful of times, and I've been meaning to replay it. And I understand why some people are now saying that it was the... Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Okay. It was the last real 3D Zelda game we've gotten in a long time. Because I think, the next one was Breath of the Wild. At least with that, I think what they mean by that is that it had the same, the formula that was the typical Zelda formula. Come on, you big fish. Oh, come on. There we go. I imagine once I get it to half health, it'll start flying around. Where are you? Ugh. I don't like the waiting. I don't like it one bit. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that they... What were some of Miyaza's darker movies? Oh gosh. Oh man. Okay, fine. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, no ammo. No, I don't want this. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna shoot a super missile. A super missile. Get some more ammo. Okay, see, this is fine. This is they throw other enemies at you to distract you while the boss is kind of floating around in the water. It is a bit of annoying though because the window to shoot him is so small that you miss your chance. Oh, look at that. What is this? Oh, it's nothing. I thought it was something. It is nothing. Can I super missile him? Doesn't look like it. There we go. Die. Oh yeah, Princess Mononoke. But I mean, Princess Mononoke was obviously used to inspire Breath of the Wild for sure. But I do remember everyone everyone was so pissed at, like, they put out that tech demo of Ganondorf fighting Link with in GameCube graphics, and it looked so cool. Like, oh, this is the next Zelda we're gonna get, and Ganondorf has that big kind of obtuse sword, and he's about to punch Link, and everyone was so excited for that next Zelda that was gonna be super dark and edgy, and then we get Wind Waker. And that's a good example of a game that where you know, it's like, yes, make the game you want to make. But sometimes it's good to, at least with the overall reception of your game, what the player base expects is kind of like, you got to be willing to take the hit if you know you're going to give something the player base does not expect. In the case of Wind Waker, it ended up paying off. It became a classic over time once people got over the fact that it wasn't dark and with realistic quote-unquote graphics. And we got Twilight Princess later, so everyone was happy. And there was no ever bad games ever made again. Yeah, definitely a fault on Nintendo's part. At least when it comes to their innovation, Nintendo's willing to take a lot of risks with its stuff. Sometimes it pays off, other times it does not. Like with the Wii U. Ugh, coughing out blood. Or water, whatever it is. So you ordered it for you pre-ordered it and never actually beat it. Oh, this thing looks straight out of Alien. Out of range. Okay. The Chikra Flying Insectoid Guardian. This light creature can be stunned. It's a light creature? Isn't it a dark creature? Especially by dark energy. Oh. Weird. While stunned, look for weak spots. I guess it is. Can be stunned by dark energy. Okay. So the first one was weak to dark, or light, and this one's weak to dark. Except if I could hit it. Maybe I have to shoot its... What's going on here? Can I... Okay, I don't know what's going on here. I'm going to move around. Oh, yes. Gotcha. Okay. I do want to talk about that. But I also just want to beat this boss first. So we'll get to that for sure. Okay, is it stunned now? Is that... Wait, what did this say? Okay. While stunned, look for its weak spots. Oh, okay. So its weak spots are... there? Am I supposed to do its, like, do my missile thingy? Okay, never mind. Ugh. If I run out of dark energy, that'll be annoying. The light energy is easier because it homes in on them. Oops. Oops. Okay, now what? What am I doing wrong here? Do I need to shoot light energy at it? Oh, God. Can I grapple it? Let me get closer to it. So my shots actually hit it. Great. Okay. Do it this way. Well, it's doing something. Oh, there we go. Should have saw that coming. Do we have any power-ups around here that I can... Still don't know what to do once I stun it. Look for its weak spots. I can't shoot missiles at it. Okay, now what? Where can I hit it? Everything's bouncing off of it. Oh, wait a minute. Do I gotta get around behind it and do this probably? Yep, there we go. Hey, look at that. I've been gaming for a long time. I felt like that's good. They didn't. It wasn't obvious what to do, but it was like, hey, this is when you're gonna be able to hit it. Use something that you learned in the past to beat it. That's cool. I like that. Took some thought, but now that I know it, it's still not an easy fight. Now I have to execute. I just wish I had more ammo. That'd be nice. Oh gosh. Oh, the immersive effects. Can't see. Alright, there we go. Get around behind it. Bam. Nice. Should have saw that coming too. Now what? Oh, okay. Okay, it's becoming dark. I thought the game froze for a second. Almost did. That would have been annoying. A new creature. Morphology. Dark Chica. Dark energy charged. Flying guardian. Target is charged with dark energy. Most of its body is immune to damage, save for its lower egg sac. Gross. Attack. Attacks by target's defense. Attacks by target's offspring swarms. Wait, what? Okay, so it's gonna shoot bugs at me. And I have to shoot its egg sac. Which is gross. Okay, but I can... At least I can... Bleh. I hate bugs. But look, it gets me ammo, so that's good. They are slow moving. Oh, oh, oh. We've got 10 shots. Nice. Okay, this might be easier. Than the last part, at least. Okay, can't do that. It's weird that regular energy can hurt it. Yeah, with the exception of the waiting around in the for the larva to emerge from the water, I'd say overall this is a pretty good boss fight in my humble opinion. You know, it's just a matter of navigating the stage, executing what you need to execute, and there's the only waiting that occurs is well, there really isn't any. Even now, like I could go and attack him if I chose to ignore these guys. Her, excuse me. Could go and attack her. It's probably a, I don't know, maybe maybe it's like a seahorse in that in that the male carries the young and then releases them. Okay, I can't do that. It switches back and forth. Okay, that's annoying. Gotta switch tactics partway through. Yeah, I like this. I approve. Gets my seal of approval of a good boss fight. If only I could shoot it in the face. Yeah. Thanks. There we go. Don't stand in the toxic puddle. Got it. I do have to contort my hand so I can charge my missiles and shoot it at the same time. What am I doing? Okay, there we go. Charge up. Come on. It's gonna charge at me or do some shenanigans. Whee! Okay, there we go. Nice little shot in the face there. Stop moving. There we go. Okay. Hopefully it'll change back. much easier to damage. Yeah, okay, I think it's gonna change back now. Nope, never mind. Okay, I think now I'm in a place where I figured it out, where I can talk about something else other than the boss. Okay, yeah. So that gotcha clip you sent me, and the comments around it were pretty interesting. Amen. And it is true. It is a much more nuanced conversation to say that like you should immediately stay away from any game that has gotcha mechanics. And I think the comment that got um, the most impressions, which from an account that was only like I think 500 people or 5,000, I can't remember, but they got like a million impressions on it, which good for that guy. Wish that would happen to me sometime. But he talked about how you can't ignore the art direction or the overall game experience, and to an extent that is true. Like I agree. Like a lot of these games, to say that there's not any developers that work hard on them would be would be a lie. Like programming these games is not easy, and it does take some skill. My contention is, though, you still have to weigh what is the core mechanic of the game. Is the core mechanic of the game gotcha, or is the core mechanic of the game something else entirely? And I think it's totally possible that the to kind of maybe identify, maybe, I don't know if it's like, did they design the game around the gotcha mechanics, or did they design the core mechanics around gotcha? Like, most of these games do have some sort of battle system, and if you can focus on the battle system, if the battle system itself is actually fun, then you'll want to engage with the game. The problem is, though, most of these gotcha games, at some point, they have this mechanic that will kick in where it's like you can auto battle, and you can basically like they understand that the player at this point has gotten bored with the attack and all, with the battle system, and all they want to do is just auto battle. Even that happened with Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Like the only battles I actually wanted to do, which were like raids against like the Rancor or some other big thing, or territory wars, where you're fighting against other physical players, and even in those, you always had the option to turn on auto battle. So that to me is like an implicit recognition that the battle system in and of itself is not enough to maintain the players. It's getting too close to like, what's drawing me to play this game every day is to go in and log in and get the next character, or inch my way towards the next character. Yes, exactly. Indeed, these games have entirely revolve around pull instead of play. That's a great way to put it. And I know for me, in the couple of games the couple of gotcha games I've interacted with, usually once I realize that I'm not actually playing the game anymore, that's when it starts to lose interest to me, or that it's a completely pay to win game. If there's nothing else engaging me to keep playing, then it's like, why do this? And that is aside from my other comments on how gotcha mechanics hack the brain, and I do think adults are, I feel like, less susceptible to being influenced in that way. But hang on one second, everyone. Okay, I'm back. Is my mic on? Okay. Parenting moment. Son woke up a little bit early and had a question. No, I have not played Runes of Magic, but I'm curious as to it's not gotcha, but a biggest pay to win game. Like, did it have microtransactions? Because that's another aspect. I wouldn't call that predatory, but it does. It's one of those things where it's like, back in the day, we had to uh well, my thing just jumped. Back in the day, we had to unlock things by playing the game, and now you can just buy them. But yeah, if you had armor, you could buy that was straight up stronger than anything else in the game. Yeah, that in a competitive game, there needs to be some sort of equalizer, and I think maybe that could work, but you need to find different ways to kind of equalize the game. Which that was my problem with Galaxy of Heroes. It wasn't just the gotcha mechanics. It was, you know, I had no hope of beating some of the players because they had all the characters. Like no amount of skill and strategy would allow me to beat some of these players just because they were whales. They would characters would drop like twice a month, and they would spend $300 to get them to the max immediately, whereas I would have to wait 6 months to a year just by doing it normally. And like a good player, I did not read the visor scan. Ah, there we go. Cool. Ooh. My game might not like that. Something is dropping my frame rates here and there. Yes, I have heard of Withering Waves. That's the new one that was like, I remember looking at it. It's free to play, I think. It better be if it's gotcha. Oh yeah, that was another thing that tanked Concord. It's $40. Oh man, jeez, $2,500 to $1,500 to level up a character to the max. That's insane. Yes, that's true. All gotcha are usually free to play. And they're so popular because, of course, they make money. That's really what it is. People engage with it, they make money, and they're so popular. And it is what it is. Yeah, all of that about like the core mechanics and stuff is, to me, it's a separate argument from, is this good for me to play? Like what I was saying before my son came in was that um, adults can play a gotcha game, and again, I have nothing yet to back this up. I still have to research it and figuring it out. But when it comes to like what I expect from a game is influenced by, almost 30 plus years of gaming. Whereas if a child were to play only gotcha games growing up, I do think that would create certain expectations in the child that, games should have these kind of mechanics, and that games should be easy and you should always be progressing and things. And if you ever stall out in a game, then it's not fun. Like, I think it is totally possible to engineer gaming preferences in a way that makes it so that that a person can, quote unquote, have fun playing a game that's not necessarily a quality game or best for them. Yeah, and I'm still working out all these ideas. Uh, I really gotta sit down and write it out, all my thoughts in a clearer way, so I can make a video on it or something. It's like when I think some critics call it key jangling. It's like when you take advantage of an audience's prior knowledge of an IP to get them to think like, oh, this IP is great. So this happens a lot in the newer Star Wars shows, where it's like, hey, remember this guy? Well, he's here now, and he doesn't have anything to do with the plot. Remember this thing? Look at that; it's in the background. And it evokes, it takes advantage of nostalgia, and it kind of tricks you into thinking you're enjoying something that's not really enjoyable otherwise. It's a bird o'clock. Member berries, yes, exactly. Member berries. Remember this, remember that. So those are like, those are things where I feel like can sort of trick people into enjoying a show that doesn't have necessarily the quality to keep up. Like, if you removed those things, would people still be engaged in the show? Okay, so this is going to be a problem right now. I really have to fix my... Okay, so whenever I switch to the light beam, I have to... Okay, good. I just have to hit up. All right. Yeah, because I'm not using a Wiimote, I have to map the controls differently. Pepperidge Farm remembers. Yeah, that makes me feel old. I'm now a grumpy old gamer. Duet Night Abyss. It's a decent game, but you can tell the transition from gacha to a cosmetic gacha was abrupt. I was reading your super chat rather than playing a game. Okay, I'm getting a bit choppy here, so I'm gonna save before anything goes wrong. The game could have used a few extra months before launch. Yeah, I mean, I've seen that advertised. But it does feel like in the ocean of gacha games on Android. Like, I wonder. I should look into this more, because I'm sure there are reviews out there of these games. But it feels like, and I could be wrong, so it feels like a lot of them are kind of like copy paste, with probably the only real distinction being the story and whatever battle system they actually do or put in place. So I mean, at least there's that they could differentiate themselves by a fun battle system. Cute anime waifu simulator was a good choice. Warframe. I've never actually played Warframe, so maybe I need to do that. See what you mean. And yes, the anime waifu thing it goes hand in hand with gacha, and I think, you know, obviously sex sells, sex appeal, that kind of thing. I don't think like a game can have great art design without that, but the sex appeal combined with the gacha mechanics, I think, make it, those two things can kind of cover up any poor gameplay. And for me, as someone who's all about gameplay, it just seems like you could have those two things and still have a quality game. You know, from what I understand, I've only like dipped into the first Descendants. For when Warframe is one of two games I've ever had to force myself to uninstall because I was addicted to the grind. Good to know. But yeah, the first Descendant got noticed because of its character design, sex appeal. But from what I understand, actually playing it, people are like, yeah, it's a very grindy game, and at some point, you just, in order to, if you're not going to pay money to get things, you're going to have to grind a lot. And the core gameplay is really nothing new and exciting. So while the first Descendant made a lot of waves, no one's really talking about it anymore. So gotcha mechanics and sex appeal can only go so far as to like making a game stand out or last. Okay, I'm kind of just wandering around here because it is time. Unfortunately, this time goes so fast. Worst MMO ever episode on Warframe. I'm gonna write that down. Worst Josh Strife. My desk is a mess. Josh Strife. Worst MMO ever. I'll definitely check that out. Thank you. Oh man, it's a series? Okay. I'll have to dive into it. Alright, we made some good progress today. Killed a giant bug. That was fun. Thanks for chatting, Eamon. Tim, if you're still here, thanks for hanging out. Should be back on tomorrow. I am thinking of trying to switch things up. I'm realizing that the things I share on what I think would help my visibility on X is to not have only Metroid Prime posts, because there's no you can put a thumbnail up, but a lot of people have autoplay, and all the like the instant, like what they first see, it all looks the same. So unless I have a really compelling hook as my like quote, people probably just scroll right past it. Only gets like 50 impressions. I don't know how. I have to look at the analytics to see who's actually viewing it. But I think if I had different games that pop up, so I don't know, maybe only do Metroid Prime a couple times a week and then do another game or something. So yeah, might switch it up. Guys might come on. I'm not playing Metroid Prime 2. Yes, current indie games. I have to do that too. I do want to give indie developers a hand, and I try to here and there by playing their demos. Some demos I get and they're awesome. Other demos I play, like there's one in particular, I'm not going to say who it was, but they wanted me to play their demo, and they were supporting me and resharing all my stuff, and I played their demo, and it really wasn't at the place yet where I felt like it would help if I shared the game. Like, there were some redeeming aspects of it, but I told him straight up, I'm like, listen, you got to fix a few things before you really show this to the public, because like a lot of this looks like it was done in MS Paint. You got to touch up, like your competition is real stiff if you're going to do a Metroidvania, and it's one thing to have the cutesy pixel art that draws in that nostalgia like Undertale did, but it's another thing when it looks like you didn't spend a lot of time on it. And that's the impression I got. Like there were some redeeming aspects of his gameplay, and it was a great start, but I told him, like, if you put some polish in a few areas, it'll be ready for you to show. But as it is right now, I think if I shared this, it wouldn't help. A game I am following that I'm really excited for is Lucid. It's a Metroidvania coming up. It's a beautiful game. Has its own feel and style. It doesn't feel like a copy of something else. Definitely look up Lucid. There's a great demo, and it's a long demo too. You can play it for 3-4 hours. So it's like a precision precision platformer Metroidvania with its own kind of whimsical charm to it. Yeah, Lucid's good. I'm really no, I'm not talking about Silksong. Silksong's a masterpiece. I don't know if I'll ever play it again because it's so long, but it's really a lot of fun. Yes, the mobility of Silksong and Hollow Knight is almost unmatched in a lot of games. Anyway, I could talk about this for a while, but maybe next time. I'll write it down in my journal where I keep track of things that I want to talk about. So, if you guys have any ideas, let me know. Yep, you too. Amen, you too, Tim. And anybody else viewing, thank you for watching. I'll see you all later.